The truth, once a slumbering beast, now stood before us, its eyes glowing with the fire of revelation. Embark on this pivotal chapter as Emily, where the wait for a truth that binds my husband and me in an unspeakable way comes to a close. Every second ticks by with the weight of a verdict, and the air between us is charged with the anticipation of a life-altering disclosure. The DNA test is a key that will unlock doors we may wish forever remained closed. Stand with me as we face the consequences of secrets sown in the soil of a bygone era and watch as they blossom into a reality that demands to be acknowledged. Chapter 5. Scandal explodes, facing the shocking reality of secret half-siblings. The room spins, a carousel of confusion as Mark's eyes meet mine. The letter lies between us, a testament of truths untold, and suddenly the walls of our home seem to close in, whispering of sins and secrets. "Emily, what is this?" Mark's voice breaks through my daze, a lifeline thrown into the tumultuous sea of my thoughts. I grasp for words, any words, to anchor me back to the moment, to explain the inexplicable. "It's from her, Mark. From my mother." My voice is a stranger's, hollow and distant. "There's something about us. About our families." The truth threatens to choke me, each word a stone heavier than the last. His hand trembles as he picks up the letter, scanning the lines, the creases in his forehead deepening with every word. "About my father?" he echoes, a note of incredulity in his voice. "What does she mean, Emily?" I look at him, really look at him, at the man I've shared my life with, my dreams, my bed, the man who may now share my blood. I think we might be more than just husband and wife, Mark. The air between us is electric, charged with a decade of shared history, now tainted with doubt. He takes a step back, as if my words are a physical blow, as if the space could somehow distance him from the truth. "Emily, are you saying—" He can't finish the sentence. He doesn't have to. "Yes," I whisper, the admission tearing through me. "I think we might be half-siblings." The silence that follows is deafening. The ticking of the clock on the mantelpiece is a metronome to our shock. I watch as the foundation of our relationship crumbles in his gaze. The love that I thought was unshakable now questioned in its very essence. This can't be. Mark's denial is a desperate plea to a cruel universe. It's a mistake, a sick joke. But deep down, we both know the truth isn't something that can be wished away. It's in the letter, in my mother's diary, in the knowing glances of the villagers, in the very air we breathe. We stand in the wreckage of our marriage, the life we built together, and I feel the weight of the unknown pressing down on us. What do we do now? Where do we go from here? The questions multiply, each one a path leading into darkness, and as if in response the letter rustles on the ground, as though it, too, is uncomfortable with the truths it holds. Mark runs a hand through his hair, a gesture of frustration and confusion. We need proof. A test. We can't just accept this without... He doesn't finish his sentence, but he doesn't need to. I nod, the practical part of me latching onto the idea. Yes, a test. DNA. Something concrete to hold onto amid the storm. We'll do it, I say, the decision solidifying within me. We'll get a test done. And as we agree to seek out the undeniable truth, I can't help but wonder if some truths are better left buried. But the genie is out of the bottle, and there's no turning back. As the evening stretches into night, we sit in silence, lost in our own thoughts, together yet more alone than ever. The past has intruded upon the present, and as I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, I realize that regardless of what the test says, our lives will never be the same again. The irony isn't lost on me. I sought the truth to free myself from the shadows of my past, only to find that it may cost me my future. And as I drift into a restless sleep, I can only hope that whatever the morning brings will find the strength to face it. But even as I close my eyes, a part of me knows that the biggest test isn't the one that will come with a swab and a lab result. The real test is what comes after, when we have to decide what life looks like when the dust settles. Because no matter what, the Mark I love, the man who's been my everything, he will always be Mark. And not even the most shocking truth can erase the years of love, laughter, and tears we've shared. But can love survive a revelation like this? I guess we're about to find out.